Good morning, students. This is the fifth lecture on deep water. We have seen that Douglas, when he got fed up of his hydrophobia, the fear which caught him strongly, finally he decided to engage an instructor. He engaged an instructor in order to make him feel comfortable, in order to make him feel safe, divided different techniques into parts. First of all, he taught him back and forth. Thereafter, he taught him exhale and inhale. He made him practice all these things uh, many times, for many days, for many hours. So far, we have done. Now, next, he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. Next, he held me at the side of the pool. We have seen that bit by bit when he practiced hundreds of times for exhale and inhale, backward and forward. Thereafter, his instructor holded him to the side of the pool and made him kick with his legs, means leg movements. For weeks, I did just that. For weeks, he did only leg movements. At my first opportunity, at my first, legs refused to work. In the beginning, his legs refused to work. It is not. It was not easy for him to make leg movements, but they gradually relaxed, and finally, I could command them. But slowly, gradually, his legs relaxed, and he could make good command over his legs. Means thereafter he could easily make leg movements in the pool. Thus, piece by piece, he built a swimmer, and when he had perfected each piece, he put them together into an integrated whole. In April, he said, "Now you can swim, dive off, and swim the length of the pool, crawl, stroke." Thus, piece by piece, thus dividing different techniques into parts, he was successful in building a swimmer in him. And when he had perfected each piece, he put them together. When Douglas instructor made him perfect in each technique, then he put all the tricks together into an integrated whole. In April, he means his instructor said, "Now you can swim, dive off, and swim the length of the pool, crawl, stroke." In December, he started his classes from 1st October. Now in April, his teacher, his instructor told him that his part of teaching was over. Now he could do every type of swimming techniques. I did. The instructor was finished. I did. I stands for the instructor. Did means his part of teaching, his part of training him. The instructor was finished. The work of instructor of teaching him different techniques was finished there. But I was not finished. I still wondered if I would be terror stricken when I was alone in the pool. But I was not finished. Here I is for Douglas. He stated that his part was not over. Still, he had to work. I still wondered if I would be terror stricken when I was alone in the pool. He still thought if he would be terror stricken, he still had this thought in his mind, if he would be in the pool all alone, would he be afraid? I tried it. So he tried to test it, whether he would be afraid in the water or not. I swam the length up and down. So he took or went across the pool. Tiny vestiges is part, tiny is small parts of old terror would return. The terror in small part returned there when he tried to practice, when he tried to make sure whether he had overcome his fear. But now I could frown and say to that terror, trying to scare me, "Ah, well, here is to you." Look, and off I would go for another length of the pool. When the fear caught him, when the fear returned, he frowned, showed anger to that particular fear, and stated that that fear was trying to scare him. And he once again crossed the pool, showing eyes, showing his confidence. This is how he practiced in the pool for many days. But still, students, he was not satisfied that he was able to overcome his hydrophobia. So he continued with his swimming, with his practice. This went on until July, but I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all the terror had left. This went on until July. This practice of Douglas went on until July, but still he was not satisfied. He was not sure that all the terror had left. So I went to Lake Wentworth. This I would like to make one thing clear here, that Douglas was not sure, when he was not sure whether he was able to overcome his hydrophobia, so he put it to test. At his first opportunity, he went to Lake Wentworth, which was in New Hampshire, dived off at dock at Triggs Island. He dived off into Triggs Island, means he went to Lake Wentworth, which was in New Hampshire, entered into and swam Triggs Island. Sorry, entered into Lake Wentworth and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. He started his swimming at Lake Wentworth at Triggs Island. Then he swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. I swam the crawl, breaststroke, side stroke, and backstroke. These are the different techniques of swimming, different types of swimming he adopted. Only, means all the techniques he knew, he applied there. Only once did the terror return. Only once, while he was swimming Lake Wentworth, he was crossing Lake Wentworth, once the terror came. When I was in the middle of the lake, I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. The old sensation returned in miniature. I laughed and said, "Well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me?" It fled and I swam on. Once, when he was in the middle of the water, the terror returned. Once did the terror return? Yes, the terror returned. By this, the author Douglas has emphasized that once the terror returned, when he was in the middle of the lake, the moment when he put his face under the water, he could see nothing but bottomless water. At that time, that terror returned. Which terror? The terror which he felt on the misadventure day. The old sensation returned in miniature. Miniature, once again, small parts. The old sensation, old feeling of fear returned, although it returned in small part, but it returned. I laughed and said, Well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? So he challenged that fear and showed his eyes, challenging it, asked what it could do to him. It fled and I swam on. When he challenged the fear fled away. Obviously, he got over that fear and swam on and was successful in crossing Lake Wentworth. This is how Douglas kept on practicing until he was sure that he was able to overcome his hydrophobia. Thereafter, yet I had residual doubts. At my first opportunity, I hurried west, went up the Titan to Conrad Meadows. Meadows are grassland areas. Yet, still, just because he had certain residual means remaining doubts, so at his first chance, he hurried. He went towards west. Towards west, he went up the Titan to Conrad Meadows. Meadows is grassland area. Up the Conrad Trail is narrow streets, जिसे पगडंडिया कहते हैं, to Med Glacier and camped in the high meadow means grassland area by the side of warm lake. On and whole, वो वेस्ट की साइड गया, टाइटन्स से क्रॉस करते हुए कॉनरेड मेडोज की तरफ, कॉनरेड क्रीक ट्रेल्स पगडंडिया क्रॉस करते हुए मेड ग्लेशियर की तरफ बढ़ा, and there he camped in high grassland area which was to the side of warm lake. The next morning I dived into the lake and swam across to the other shore and back. The next morning he removed his clothes, dived into the lake means jumped into the lake and swam across to the other shore and back, means he started from first shore and then came back to that shore, just as Doc Cochran used to do. He was a great swimmer. He did swimming just like Cochran used to do. I shouted with joy, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo. There, when he was successful in crossing Warm Lake without any fear, starting from that point and returned to the same point, he shouted with joy that he was able to overcome his hydrophobia, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo, I had conquered my fear. He became confident that he was finally able to overcome his hydrophobia. I suppose everything is clear to you up to now. The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only the experience here refers to the experience when he was in pool. He was thrown by a bruiser of a boy, strong burly boy. That experience had a deep meaning for him, as only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate. Only those who themselves have known stark terror, stark is complete terror, and conquered it and are able to overcome it, can appreciate it. The experience of Douglas can only be appreciated by those who themselves have experienced such type of terror and have overcome it, have able to overcome it. मतलब वो फियर जो डॉगलेस ने फील किया, वो फियर जिसको डॉगलेस को लगा कि कंप्लीट स्टार्क टेरर था, उसके एक्सपीरियंस को सिर्फ वही लोग अप्रिशिएट कर सकते हैं जिन्होंने खुद उस तरीके के फियर को फेस किया है और उसको ओवरकम किया है. In death, there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. In death, there is peace. It is stated that in death, there is peace. Obviously, we get relieved of every kind of tension, we get relieved of every kind of fear. There is nothing to be worried about when we are dead. There is terror only in the fear of death. As Roosevelt knew when he said, all we have to fear is fear itself. There is terror only in the fear of death. It is quite important to learn the deep meaning, what Douglas felt. In death, there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. How? When we feel, I will die, we will die, this can happen. This is the fear of death, which is more torturous than death, because when one dies, he is at peace. He has nothing to worry about. He has nothing to think of. But when we are alive, the biggest torture is to think we will die. This can happen, that can happen, as we are at home just because of coronavirus. And if someone is thinking this can happen, I can die just because I touch this or that, this fear is more torturous than death. As Roosevelt knew when he said, all we have to fear is fear itself. Roosevelt knew this thing very much, or very clearly. He stated, all we have to fear is fear itself. He states that we have to be fearful of the fear itself. Means what we need to feel fearful is not from death, but we have to be away from the fear which we feel of being dead. Because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. Because Douglas had experienced both the things, sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. The will to live somehow grew in intensity. Whenever we face death, our wish to live grow in intensity. It keeps on growing. You must have seen, मान लो किसी का फेस पानी में जाता है, कोई भी सिचुएशन हो जिसमें हमें ऐसा लगता है कि एकदम गए, उस समय हमारी जो विल होती है टू बी अलाइव, टू लिव लाइफ, इट ग्रोज इन इंटेंसिटी, बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है. दिस इज व्हाट इज सेड. Douglas had experienced the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of death can produce. And in the situation of and in such a situation, our intensity, our wish to live, our wish to survive grows. At last, these are the last lines. At last I felt released, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside fear. At last I felt released. I stands for, once again, Douglas. He felt released of the fear. The fear which caught him, the fear which restricted him from doing this or that thing. Now he felt free to walk the trails. Trails is narrow streets, narrow lanes, and climb the peaks. Now he was confident of doing anything, whether it can be the matter of walking on trails, it can be the matter of climbing the peaks, and to brush aside and to keep aside fear, remove fear. Now he was confident. When he was able to overcome his hydrophobia, he became confident that he could do anything. he could do anything by his hard work and overcome any kind of fear. I suppose the chapter is clear to all of you. If you find any difficulty related to any word, any line, you can contact me. Thank you, beta.